Was Jesus an avatar of divine consciousness? It was a warm morning in Galilee, the sun casting golden hues over the hills as the sea shimmered in the distance. Crowds had gathered to hear the teachings of the man who was said to heal the sick, calm the storms, and even raise the dead. Jesus stood among them, a figure of humility and quiet power, his gaze filled with love and understanding that seemed to pierce through the layers of human suffering. But what if this man, revered as the Son of God, was more than just a messenger of divine will? What if Jesus was an avatar, a physical manifestation of divine consciousness, sent not merely for the salvation of humanity, but to anchor higher truths into the material world? The idea that Jesus might be an avatar was whispered not only among the scholars of his time, but has persisted through centuries of mysticism and spiritual exploration. An avatar, in many spiritual traditions, is more than a prophet or teacher. It is the embodiment of the infinite, taking a finite form to guide, uplift, and heal. Jesus' actions, his words, and his very presence seem to suggest that he carried something far beyond human understanding. One evening, after a long day of healing and teaching, Jesus and his disciples sat around a fire. The night was quiet, except for the occasional rustling of the wind through the olive trees. Peter, ever curious, asked, "Rabbi, why do you speak so often of the Father, yet act as though you and he are one?" Jesus smiled, his eyes reflecting the flames. "Peter," he began, "the Father and I are indeed one. Just as the light of the moon reflects the sun, I reflect the eternal light of God, but do not think this is unique to me. Within each of you lies the same spark of divine consciousness. My purpose is to show you the way to awaken it." The disciples listened in silence, the weight of his words settling over them. Jesus was not merely preaching the presence of God, but inviting them to recognize divinity within themselves. To those who look deeper, this was a hallmark of an avatar, to remind humanity of its own divine potential. Stories of Jesus' miracles often reveal glimpses of this divine consciousness. When he healed the blind or the lepers, it wasn't just physical restoration. It was as though he was realigning their connection to the infinite. When he calmed the storm on the Sea of Galilee, his actions seemed less like a display of power and more like a reminder that all creation responds to the harmony of divine will. The most profound demonstration of this idea came during the transfiguration. Jesus took Peter, James, and John to a high mountain, where he began to shine with a light unlike anything they had seen. His face radiated like the sun, his garments turned dazzling white, and they saw him speaking with Moses and Elijah. In that moment, the disciples were not merely witnessing their teacher. They were beholding the infinite, wearing the guise of the finite. "Do not be afraid," Jesus said to them afterward, sensing their awe and fear. "What you have seen is the truth of all things. But it is not for fear or wonder that I have come. I have come to show you the way back to the source." The concept of Jesus as an avatar also explains the paradox of his life and death. As an infinite being, he chose to experience human limitations, hunger, fatigue, pain, and ultimately death. Why would the infinite submit to the finite? The answer lies in his mission, to bridge the gap between the divine and humanity. By experiencing the depths of human suffering, Jesus demonstrated that even in the darkest moments, the divine is present, offering redemption and love. The crucifixion, often seen as a tragedy, becomes a profound act of cosmic alignment when viewed through this lens. On the cross, Jesus absorbed not just the sins of humanity, but the collective disconnection from divine consciousness. His resurrection was not only a testament to the triumph of life over death, but a declaration that the divine spark within us can never be extinguished. As the disciples carried his teachings forward, they began to understand the deeper layers of his mission. Jesus was not just a savior. He was the embodiment of a universal truth, the truth that the divine resides in all of creation, waiting to be awakened. Even today, this perspective invites us to look beyond the historical figure of Jesus and see him as a manifestation of infinite love and consciousness. His life was not just an example, but an invitation, calling us to embrace the divine within ourselves and live in harmony with the infinite.